Brand New Couch is an underrated episode of BoJack Horseman that sets the stage for the series in new and unexpected ways. The Season 2 premiere not only reveals more about BoJack and his insecurities, but gives us our most thorough look at his mother Beatrice in the series up to that point, showcasing the struggles and conflict between the pair of them in multiple time periods and unveiling the depths of the trauma that Beatrice had inflicted on her son. The episode explores BoJack's inability to unpack those traumas as he navigates his first days on the set of Secretariat.
Keep running forward, no matter what.
Brand New Couch opens in 1973 as a 9-year-old BoJack watches The Dick Cavett Show. With abusive and neglectful parents, BoJack looked to athlete and Triple Crown winner Secretariat for guidance, almost acting as a surrogate father figure in BoJack's mind. Something we would see visualized later in The View from Halfway Down. BoJack wrote a letter to Secretariat that we first heard at the end of Season 1, but the beginning of Season 2 shows BoJack actually watching the episode and Secretariat's response. There is some confusion about the intention of this scene in the fandom. Many believe that due to BoJack's parents fighting, BoJack actually never heard Secretariat's advice, which would be a kind of tragedy in itself. However, creator Raphael Bob Waxberg clarified in the DVD commentary that the intention here was that BoJack scooting so close to the TV to listen was meant to convey that he not only heard Secretariat's response, but also deeply internalized it. And though Bob Waxberg goes on to say that fan interpretation is malleable and important, I think that his intention behind this scene is actually very clear in the episode's messages and BoJack's journey throughout. BoJack idolizes Secretariat, but his question wasn't about Secretariat's career or accomplishments. He looked to Secretariat for advice someone might ask a friend or teacher or parent. He asks Secretariat what to do when he gets sad. Secretariat draws from his own experience and tells BoJack what's worked for him: to just continue to move forward with your life.
Don't you stop running, and don't you ever look behind you. There's nothing for you behind you. All that exists is what's ahead.
And given BoJack's childhood, I think it makes a lot of sense why he was attracted to this piece of advice.
I was beautiful before I got pregnant. You ruined me, BoJack.
Not only was BoJack's childhood riddled with abuse and neglect, but Beatrice's abuse often stemmed from her own inability to let go of her past. She resented BoJack for being born and changing her life substantially, saddling her to butterscotch, and she took it all out on BoJack. And so BoJack deeply internalized Secretariat's advice, and this is clearly reflected in BoJack's attempts to showcase a brand new attitude, as seen in Brand New Couch.
I can change, and I will change.
Leading into BoJack's first days on Secretariat, he is trying desperately to build a new positive attitude. Secretariat is his dream job, and he wants to be the best version of himself possible so that he doesn't blow it. Unfortunately, due to the previous advice we'd seen him internalize from Secretariat himself, BoJack does not attempt to build this new attitude in a healthy or productive way. Rather than reflect on or unpack any of the reasons behind his old attitude, he refuses to look back on his past or his mistakes and instead puts up a facade. The self-help tape that BoJack utilizes is filled with surface-level, superficial ideas of what having a new attitude looks like without doing any actual internal work to get himself there. It's all about how people will perceive him, and not about what he actually has going on within himself.
I've got a brand new attitude. That's what your face should be saying to everyone you pass on the street.
And as a result, we can see that BoJack's expectations are not realistic. He expects to see results without any real work, and this is illustrated pretty clearly when he attempts to run up the hill in front of his house and quits barely halfway. Everything BoJack does this episode is in the name of moving forward without examining his past. This is showcased subtly by Diane's comment when he picks her up before their first day on set.
Still can't believe you wanted to carpool.
This was a precarious point in Diane and BoJack's relationship. After the events of Season 1, the pair weren't exactly close, having only recently reconnected after their falling out over One Trick Pony. But BoJack moves forward with his brand new attitude, not dwelling on the past, simply building that superficial facade we see from him throughout the episode, partially thanks to the meaningless, superficial advice he receives from his self-help podcast.
The house is a metaphor for a home. Happiness is a metaphor for change.
And every person he talks to, he spits the same meaningless toxic positivity at them. He does it to Todd.
Todd, no one can wake anybody else up. You need to wake yourself up.
He does it to Princess Carolyn.
Every morning is a miracle. Hashtag miracle. Hashtag every morning.
He does it to Diane.
Hashtag great day to start fresh at a new job. Sincerely, BoJack. at Diane.
And through his phony attitude, he even, on the surface, gets along with Mr. Peanut Butter, obviously something that is not typical for BoJack. And Diane takes notice.
It is a new cone. Is it really obvious I'm wearing a cone?
Didn't even notice, because you've got the smile of a winner.
What's going on?
And probably most notably, BoJack's phony-ass attitude is clear on the set of Secretariat, as he gives a speech to the entire crew in an attempt to convey his brand new attitude.
It's a complex role that requires a precise touch and a deft hand, and I just can't wait to tackle it head on. Namaste.
And of course, BoJack's completely superficial attitude shines through most in his performance as Secretariat.
What are you doing here?
Ironically, BoJack's brand new attitude was meant to ensure he doesn't blow his opportunity on the Secretariat movie, but it ultimately does the opposite. When he's meant to portray Secretariat at his absolute lowest, darkest moment, he can't do it.
Hey, Secretariat.
What are you doing here?
BoJack was so focused on the facade, making it look like he's happy and positive all the time, combined with the fact that he is continually running forward and never looking back, prevented him from drawing from his real-life experiences in his performance.
What are you doing?
I'm sorry, I am having trouble with the words.
When did you get here? Sorry.
After breaking for the day, Kelsey tries to get BoJack to reflect and really understand what it is that he sees in the character, why he took this role in the first place, what it is he's trying to portray.
Use this time to regroup and really figure out what we're doing and why we're here.
Even though it's filled with mostly meaningless toxic positivity, the self-help podcast actually reinforces BoJack's penchant for ignoring his history.
The past is past. That's why it's called the past.
And throughout the entire episode, Diane recognizes that this isn't working. She does her best to try and talk BoJack through it, and we see brief moments where he does start to unpack some of the parts of his past that eat away at him.
Do you want to talk?
Talk? Why? Why would we do that? So you can put everything we talk about in a book and sell 1 million copies?
Upon reflecting on his own career and wondering if he actually has the acting chops to give the performance needed in Secretariat, BoJack starts to panic. Instead of working on himself, he fantasizes about running away, driving to Mexico, starting an entirely new life. He would rather plan out a completely impossible plan that would ultimately be as difficult, if not harder, than solving the issue at hand, further illustrating this new attitude and his own inability to meaningfully grow from the past.
Well, you got the part, didn't you? What did you do in the audition?
Well, how should I know? That was the old me. Now I've got a brand new attitude.
But even still, there are moments where BoJack briefly forgets his forced facade, and those are the moments where it's clear what he's capable of, where it's clear that tapping into his fears and insecurities actually allows him to give that performance required.
What are you doing here?
That was it. Say that again.
What are you doing here?
Ironically, over the course of the remainder of the season, BoJack would regularly ask people this same question.
What are you doing here? What are you doing here? What are you doing here?
You're BoJack Horseman. There's no cure for that.
As we saw in the episode opening, BoJack has reasons to run from his past. His childhood was not happy or healthy, it was abusive. And to illustrate this, the episode is sprinkled with scenes featuring the biggest culprit of that abuse, his mother Beatrice, even opening with a particularly telling scene between the pair of them. This line in particular informs BoJack's motivations over the course of the episode.
You better grow up to be something great, to make up for all the damage you've done.
I will.
And of course, BoJack does grow up to be incredibly successful. He's able to make the jump from a small-time comedian to a massive sitcom star on one of the most successful sitcoms on TV. He stars in 9 seasons of Horsin' Around, and we actually get to see Beatrice's reaction to this as well. In 1988, during just the 2nd season of Horsin' Around, she attends a taping in LA, but as the audience around her laughs, she is silent. The pair go out to lunch afterwards as BoJack fishes for validation, but he still didn't meet Beatrice's standard for greatness.
What's this letter I have? It's from the government saying, I'm proud of you. Oh, no, actually what I'm holding is nothing.
She even goes on to call BoJack a clown, just completely eviscerating any hope BoJack had that he might have finally lived up to his mother's expectations. And still, at this point, working on Secretariat, BoJack's perception of what will make him happy is tied up in that validation he seeks. He sees this film as his final opportunity.
But I just keep thinking about how this movie is my last shot at happiness.
And over the course of Brand New Couch, we actually see the perfect illustration of BoJack's unwillingness to grapple with his past in any meaningful way. While he's showcasing his brand new attitude and putting on this facade of positivity, he is actively ignoring phone calls from his mother Beatrice. He does it at the beginning of the episode when they're swapping out his new couch, and he does it after his disastrous first day on set. But then, as he's seemingly lost all hope, listening to his self-help podcast and wallowing in his trailer before he's meant to go back on set, he picks up the phone. I think there are a few important things for BoJack in this conversation. Beatrice tells him that she read his book, and in doing so, she basically learns his unfiltered thoughts and opinions about her. She learns what things that she did to him that he held on to for his entire life. And while she doesn't apologize or make amends, she does acknowledge them.
The things I've said to you. You must think I'm a real monster.
I expect that this is the first time Beatrice has even acknowledged the effect she had on BoJack over the course of his life. But she goes on to tell BoJack something that, in a way, frees him.
I know you want to be happy, but you won't be, and I'm sorry.
She tells him that his pain, suffering, unhappiness, he comes by it quote-unquote honestly, and that it is his birthright. That, like her, no matter what he does, he will not be happy. Even if he adopts a perfectly positive, brand new attitude, even if he finds massive success with Secretariat.
You're BoJack Horseman. There's no cure for that.
After hanging up the phone call, BoJack shuts off his self-help podcast for the final time. No more brand new attitude. He goes to set, and he immediately delivers the line. In the end, BoJack doesn't get a brand new attitude. He does, however, get a brand new couch. And I think that though BoJack has struggled immensely to properly unpack and deal with his history and traumas, there was still wisdom in Secretariat's advice to him. Wisdom that we see BoJack learn from as the show progresses. Secretariat was wrong to say that we should never look back, that there's nothing for us behind us, only ahead. But the wisdom is that we cannot necessarily let the past hold us or pull us back. It's important to look back and understand our history so that we can move forward, so that we won't repeat the same mistakes, so that the generational trauma won't be passed down endlessly. And later in the series, when BoJack was his healthiest and moving in the most positive direction in his life, this is the attitude he was able to adopt. In season 6, we see BoJack grappling with his past, unpacking his own mistakes, and moving forward a better person because of it. And we see the ways that this not only improves his own life, but his friends' lives and his relationships with those friends. And though he still struggled after this, by the end of the series, it appears to be the attitude he is continuing to cling to, hoping to be able to have a healthy, happy life, striving to be a better man in spite of the mistakes that he's made. And I think this is something everyone should strive for. And starting down that path could be as simple as asking yourself one question.
What are you doing here?
Great, we got it. Let's move on.
Folks, I hope you enjoyed this breakdown of Brand New Couch. If you enjoyed it, you know the drill. Check out the huge library of BoJack breakdowns I've done already, including the most recent one on Mr. Peanut Butter's booze. And of course, request an episode that you want to see me cover in the comments. And stay tuned, because coming up soon is the complete BoJack Horseman timeline. So stay tuned for that. Peace.
Johnny! Two cellos!